When Aretha Franklin died intestate, that means without a legal will in place in 2018, she joined a very long list of famous people, including Prince and Bob Marley, who also did the same. Now, by not preparing the documents, she made the task of settling her affairs even more complicated for her survivors. And I know you're probably feeling that, you don't have much to leave behind. It's not as large as Aretha Franklin. But it's important for you to have a plan in place, and we're going to discuss why in this episode.
Welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast, a podcast for every mother, daughter, grandmother, sister, and wife, and the men who are smart enough to tune in. The Wealth Nation podcast brings you all you need to know about investments, business, property investments, personal finance, and all-around financial wellness. Here is your host, Yolanda Rose.
Thanks for joining me in another edition of the Wealth Nation podcast. I am Yolanda. I'm a wealth advisor. I'm a financial coach, and I help folks like you manage your money well and build generational wealth. And I do that by educating you on various platforms like this podcast and our YouTube channel and social media, private courses and coaching as well. The Wealth Nation podcast is sponsored by Financial Success. Now, this is a conference that I am putting together. I am getting the top folks in their industry, from a property to Bitcoin to formal investments, banking, short-term insurance, budgeting, all of the tools, all of the tips, all of the tricks, all of the strategies that you need to break free financially. I'm getting all these folks together in one virtual room that's happening on the 17th and 18th of April 2021. So if you want to get tickets to this event, go to the website. It's www.financialsuccesssummit.net and buy those tickets. Tickets are selling for just 99 Rand. And if you use this coupon code for a limited time, you can get early bird tickets. So go and shop for tickets. You're going to get a 60% discount and pay just 40 Rand for 2 days of power-packed financial advice. Use coupon code early bird at checkout. This offer expires on the 31st of January 2021. So thanks for listening to us today. We're talking all about estate planning, it's a very important topic for everybody. And unfortunately, not a lot of South Africans pay enough attention to this. And I want to encourage you right now to sign up for my complimentary estate planning training. Go to www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com/estate plan. Also, check out the show notes for the link. Now, this session is available for a limited time, so I hope to see you inside that free training. If you haven't checked out our latest YouTube video, go check it out. I've got some financial advice for the royal family, Harry and Meghan causing some ruckus. I guess you have to pick a side, you either Team Harry and Meghan or Team Royal. It's hard to choose. We shouldn't be choosing. But go check out that video. A lot of that advice applies to you as well. And if you're looking for financial independence, a lot of value there. So I know a lot of us, we make the mistake of thinking that estate planning is just about writing a will. But it's really about accounting for all of your assets and wishes to ensure that your plan is executed smoothly after your death. You don't want your survivors to be left in a position where they're running to the courts seeking advice of an attorney. It just makes things overly complicated. And more importantly, it costs a lot of money when that fight ensues for assets. And even if you think that you might not have much, there is a lot to leave behind. And we'll talk about it right now. Thorough planning of your estate means that you're accounting for all of your assets and ensuring that they are transferred smoothly as possible to your beneficiaries that you wish to receive them. Along with implementing a plan, you must make sure that others know about it and understand your wishes. Estate planning is not merely drafting a will, it's just a small part of it. It's just one of the tools that we use in estate planning. Another common tool that a lot of people know about is the trust as well. So you can check out YouTube. We've put out a lot of content about effectively using trusts in estate planning.
Raising financially savvy children involves teaching them a variety of skills, from budgeting to planning to earning and saving. Besides giving them an understanding of the value of a rand, it prepares them for real-world finances. Financial literacy is a vital skill, and it is never too early to teach your kids about money. Many parents wonder how they can teach their kids about money and where to find age-appropriate resources. You can now purchase the Financial Literacy for Kids workbook, which is aimed at primary school kids. It's now available at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com. This workbook provides you with 12 lessons, activities, lesson plans, discussion points, and quizzes that you can use to test your kids' knowledge. Shop now at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Tuned In. Now back to the show.
But what really happens if you die without a will in South Africa? Well, firstly, the government will take over. If you choose not to draft a will, or for some reason your will is invalid, you would have deemed to have died interstate, and the laws of interstate succession will determine the distribution of your assets. So consequently, the family of someone dying interstate is never ideal and can lead to heartache for those that are left behind. So what will happen is an executor will be appointed. So when you die without a will, the government is tasked with the job of appointing an executor to your estate. So the master of the High Court will then appoint somebody to wind up your estate for you. So the first job of that executor is to try and locate the will, to make sure all the inquiries at places at your attorney, your bank, your accountant, your financial advisor, to try and trace down a will. So if no will can be traced, the estate will be wound up as an interstate estate. Then they got to find out your matrimonial property regime. So are you married COP? Are you married? Are you single? ANC, with or without accrual? Now, it's important for us here to bear in mind that where the deceased was married in community of property, one half of the estate belongs to the surviving spouse and will therefore not devolve according to the rules of interstate succession. Only the deceased half of the estate will be available for distribution among the heirs. Then we got to determine the guardian of minor children. And if you have minor children, even if you feel you have nothing in this world to leave in a will, get a will at least to appoint a guardian for your minor children. You don't want this to fall in the hands of the state. So if you do have minor children, the other parent will become the legal guardian to your children in event of their death. And we know the family situation of many South Africans. There's a lot of single parents out there, might not be ideal. The other parent to your children may not be in the ideal situation, and it might not be in the best interest of the child to go to that parent. So it's important for you as the legal guardian of your child to appoint a guardian for your minor children. In the case of simultaneous death of both parents, when none are alive to look after the kids, the state will have to appoint a guardian for your minor children. In the absence of a valid will, the state will need to determine the most appropriate guardian for your children, and it may not be the person you would have wished. All right, so if for any reason, if you ever think that you have nothing in this world to leave anybody to do estate planning or draft a will, this is one reason if you are a parent. So what are the rules of interstate succession? Your closest relatives will inherit from you under a strict predetermined order of inheritance and proportions, with your spouse and children always benefiting first. So if you do not have a spouse or any children, then your extended family, such as your parents, siblings, nieces, nephews, uncles, and aunts, will qualify for an inheritance. Also, you got to note that interstate succession is limited to blood relatives except for legally adopted children of your surviving spouse. The basic principles of interstate succession are as follows. If you have a spouse but no descendants, your spouse will inherit your entire estate in the event of your interstate. The spouse will have to meet the definition of spouse to qualify for that inheritance. Cohabitating couples may be at risk of being disinherited in these circumstances. So if you are living with a partner and you find no need to get any documents signed or civil union or something like that, you may want to tie things up legally for you to in terms of estate planning. And if you sit with a financial advisor or even an attorney, they will give you some guidance with this as well. So if you have descendants but no spouse, your descendants, example children, will inherit the entire estate equally. And if you have children that have passed away before you, their children or your grandchildren will inherit that share. If you have a spouse and a child or children, your surviving spouse will inherit the greater either of a child's portion or an amount fixed from time to time by the Minister of Justice, which is currently set at 250,000. A child's share is calculated by dividing the estate by the number of surviving children. Deceased children who have left offspring plus the surviving spouse or spouses in the case of polygamous marriages, your spouse will therefore inherit the greater of either 250,000 or the child's share. And your children will inherit equally from the residue of your estate. So once again, if one of your children predeceased you, your children will inherit their parents' share. If you leave no spouse or descendants, but both your parents are alive, then your parents will inherit your estate in equal parts. And if you only have one surviving parent, that parent will inherit the entire estate. Where you have no spouse, no children, no parents, your nearest blood relation will inherit your estate. And if you have no relatives and no legitimate heir has claimed that estate, after 30 years, your estate will be forfeited to the state. What I really want to bring to your attention is the Guardian's Fund. And it's important to bear in mind that any assets that devolve your minor children from an interstate estate will be administered by the Guardian's Fund. This fund, which is run by the Master of the High Court, determines how your children's assets will be dealt with and administered. This can lead to complications and delays, especially where you have minor children that will inherit a share of fixed property, which needs to be sold to cover the expenses of your estate. So these kind of complications can be avoided by estate planning. Tools like a testamentary trust can be set up in terms of your will to protect the assets for your minor kids. In terms of retirement funds, the distribution of your retirement fund interests is in the discretion of the trustees of the fund. So in determining who should benefit from your retirement fund interests, the trustees will take into consideration people you have nominated on your beneficiary form, as well as those folks who are financially dependent on you, including spouse, children, parents, a live-in partner, you have somebody on the side, all of which can make a claim on your retirement funds if they are financially dependent on you. If you have not nominated any beneficiaries and you do not have any financial dependence, the fund will allocate the retirement fund interest to your estate and they will be distributed per law of interstate succession. Now, in South Africa, cohabitation is not really recognized as a legal relationship and confers no legal status regardless of how long the couple has been living together or whether they have children together. The relationship has no legal standing in South African law. If you die interstate, your live-in partner could be at risk at not benefiting from your estate, even though could be your intention to provide for them. So to ensure that your partner is adequately provided for, it's essential for you to go through the estate planning process, draft a will, set up a trust. When you go through that estate planning process, you will know what to do. So going through the estate planning process can be tedious. It's something that we as financial advisors assist you with. Basically, you would have to itemize whatever it is that you have from your home, your movable assets in your home, TVs, jewelry, vehicle, if you got art, electronics, anything of value, you're going to itemize that. And then you're going to itemize your non-physical assets. Things like your retirement savings, you've got money in the bank, all kind of investments, whatever it is, you're going to list that down. Then you're going to list down all of your debt. Now, this is an exercise that your advisor would do for you as well. But I want you to sign up for my training. It's a free complimentary training where we'll break this down in much more detail. I know I'm going very fast here and you can't really visualize it, all right? But all of that's going to happen in our training. So go to www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com/estate planning 101 and sign up for that free training where we'll go through all of this. You'll visually see how everything works and also give you some tips and pointers how to really make this process work for you. One of the biggest qualms I have with estate planning is that South Africans don't consider the death taxes And we're going to speak about that in this training and how you can plan for that. Because remember, if you have to pay all of the various death taxes, where's that money going to come from? And if you have a small estate, those things still have to be paid. You don't want stuff that you're leaving for your family and your beneficiaries to be sold off to pay those taxes, because that is priority. SARS wants their cut when you die. And in our training, I'm going to show you how to have liquidity in your estate to make sure everything is paid. All the taxes are paid without touching the inheritance for your spouse, for your kids, or your other beneficiaries. All right, so join me in that free training. We're going through the estate planning process. Very basic. I'm going to break it down real simple for you to understand the value, what we should be looking at, what you should be including in that estate plan. And if you have a plan already and you think you have everything sorted out, it doesn't really hurt to have an independent eye look at it. So reach out. I can help you out. All right. So that's it for this episode of the Wealth Nation podcast. I'll catch you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to visit our website at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com and sign up for our free investment masterclass.